from New Zealand Stitch Bird. Today I'm going to do a bit of a review on the Posie Knit top by Style Arc, and probably going to turn it into a bit of a tutorial as well. It's a really cute summer top. We've got summer coming up, not too far away now with the weather. So it is like a, I guess, more of a dressed up tee with this really cool feature around the sleeves, and I thought this would be great for me to use up some of my odds and ends from my stash, bits that I can probably do a different colour or a different pattern for the frill, which I thought would be quite cool. And so I'm going to give it a go. I have to say the instructions are very few and far between. This is all the instructions, and it took me quite a wee while to figure out what the seam allowance was, and it keeps saying in the instructions, review your pattern, look at your pattern information. So the instructions say that the seam allowance is actually this dotted line, so I'm going to measure that. It looks about 10 mil to me, so I'll be checking that out. So I'm just going to go and find my fabric, and today I'm going to cut it out and just have a bit of a chat about it. And the next video next week will be starting to put this project together, which is going to be really exciting. Anyway, I'll come back with my fabric choice in a minute. Okay, I've just put the camera down. I've decided to go with this white, I think it's a combination of cotton and it's got a wee bit of stretch, probably a bit of lycra in it. It's not too thin. It's got a wee bit of a body to it, but I don't want it too thick because of that frill. So I need to cut the back piece on the fold, and I need to cut the front piece also on the fold. I need to cut two side pieces, two pieces for the binding, and you've got to make sure that the stretch is going the right direction for all these pieces. So the maximum amount of stretch going across, so two of those. And this bit I found a bit confusing until I realised what they meant. So they've got the word fold on there, but it doesn't mean put this on the fold, because I thought this is going to be a very large neck binding, but it means you fold it in half. So I want the maximum stretch, so I'm going to fold it in half actually, and then put it on the fold. So I'll get all these pieces cut out, and then we'll just have a bit of a chat where to next. Okay, this strip for the neckband, I've measured it, it's only about 1 inch wide. I'm tempted to make it wider, but I'll try what they've recommended initially. It's got a very narrow seam there, it's only about 6 mils. The rest of the seams I've just checked out, and they're actually under 1 centimetre, so I'm potentially just going to be overlocking it all together with very little seam allowance. Anyway, because this bit's really skinny, I've decided to use my wheel, and I'm going to cut a strip. I just think that's going to be easier than trying to carefully cut around the pattern. So it's about 1 inch. So I just line up my square, my ruler. I'm just gonna, oopsie, going a bit wonky there. I think my blade's getting a bit blunt. That's okay. It's much neater than trying to cut round. I think I might do that again. So just make it slightly over 1 inch, I think, just to have enough. Right. And just make it the right length. So we want to go off about here. Yeah, that's a much neater way of cutting out a nice strip which fits my pattern piece, and all I did is I folded the pattern piece in half rather than having to do a really long strip like that. Just makes it so much easier. And then I need 2 of these, and I'm going to do the same thing. Just going to check on my ruler. Yep, they're about 1 inch, just over 1 inch wide. Probably 1 inch and 1/8. So let's go this way. And then we can, it's a much easier way of doing it so you get nice, neat pieces. So that's my 2 armhole pieces. So let's just go through the pieces. And to be fair, it took a lot more fabric than I thought, especially with these sleeves, which are frills. And I did use my wheel to go around the edges just to make them nice, because they've got to be all finished. So I've got two pieces of those cut on the fold, 2 underarm bindings, neck binding. So I've used the wheel to cut both of those out. Then we've got the side panel, 2 of those. We have a front, and you need to mark where the frill's going to go. So I've marked that on my pattern. And then you need a back. And the same thing, it's got marks so you can line up the insert piece and the frill. So I've cut out a size 18. Size 18, it says the finished measurements for the bust are 43 3/4, the waist 45 1/4, the hip 46 1/2. I'm kind of wondering whether it is actually going to fit me around the hip, but this is really my 12 just to try it out, my test one. So we'll just see how it fits, because I've never made a style art pattern before, and I'm thinking it's about time that I started supporting the Australians, and I'm picking the fit should be pretty good, because they usually are on the generous size when you buy ready-made clothing. So we've cut out all our bits and pieces. It says on here the seam allowance are marked on the pattern pieces with a dashed line, and I've established that they are under 1 centimetre and even less around the binding and the neck. And it says be careful not to stretch the hemline and flounce edges when sewing, and that's going to be the tricky thing, because they tell you to finish off all these edges around here, and I didn't really want to overlock because I feel like you're going to see it. So I'm going to sort of do some trial and testing of what I can do, whether I can fold it over twice or not. So I'll do some testing on that. But as I said, the instructions are pretty sparse. This is all the instructions here, and you get a little picture there, and that's it. So I feel like you probably would need to know a little bit about sewing. Anyway, I will have a bit of a sew along or tutorial on this next week, putting it together, and we'll see how it turns out. Anyway, thanks for joining today, and we'll check in again next week with my sewing progress on this pattern.